Okay, I'm Gary Schwartz, and this is July 28th, around, 5:35. And I'm about to print out the envelopes, the sheets for the envelopes that contain the 20 possible sites that Christopher is going to go to. There's this split screen here, although you can't see it clearly in the picture. These little pages are the actual 20 sites, one for each, and I'm going to instruct the printer right now to start printing them out so we can save time. Here we go. So it's now going to print each of the 20 possible sites. The bottom frame has all 20 listed, and I'm scanning through them, but again you can't see them, and it's not important for you to see them. 20 sheets. There are also 20 envelopes here, and what I'm going to do is as each sheet comes through, and here's one, I'm going to fold them, and you can see that I'm doing that. Here's one. There's two. There's three and four. This is being recorded for posterity. You can see I'm just folding them like so. They're quite large in terms of what the numbers are. After I'm through folding them, I'm going to put them in the envelope. And then after I'm through putting them in the envelopes, I'm going to write my name on the back of each of them so that clear that the envelopes have not been opened. By the way, I've not checked for spelling or typographical errors. I'm assuming that this information will be visible to those who know how this works. You can see I'm just folding these, each sheet. The printer is now finished printing, as you can see. I'm continuing to fold these. Okay, you notice I'm continuing to fold them just as we said. When I'm through folding them, I'll shuffle them just so I don't remember what the order is as I put them in the envelopes. Important thing for posterity is for you to see how I've prepared these. There's a total of 20 of them. And the way the procedure will work that after I've sealed each of these envelopes, I will Federal Express them to Bill Simon, my writing partner, in San Diego. Bill will then forward the 20 envelopes to a person that he has chosen, who will actually do the following. This person will first randomly select 10 of the envelopes. The person will then number these envelopes from 1 to 10. Then each day, after Christopher has recorded his dream from the previous night, I will call Bill Simon. Bill Simon will then call his friend. His friend will then, in front of a video camera, open the specific envelope, read the site to Bill, and Bill will then call me back and read the site to Christopher and I. So it'll be clear that Christopher and I will not know what the site is until after Christopher has had his dream and it has been recorded, obviously both on the video and in the auditory. In the video. And we will actually take pictures, video pictures of his, what do you call it, his actual notes. I will then have him read them into the record before we call Bill Simon, who will then call his friend. And by the way, neither I nor Christopher know who Bill's friend is. Bill has not been told what the 20 possible sites are. Neither has Christopher. Neither has anybody else for that matter. And of course his friend does not know what the 20 possible sites are, and the friend will select the 10 of them and then set the order from 1 to 10. So you can now see I've shuffled these quite a bit. I have no idea what the order is. Now what I'm going to do is take each of these and put them in an envelope. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, here's 4, here's 5, here's 6, here's 7, here's 8, here's 9, here's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Now what I'm going to do is take the paper off and seal the envelope. These are self-stick, you feel them. Three. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So here are the 20 envelopes. Okay, I'm going to move the mouse pad because I'm going to write here in a second. Here are the 20 envelopes. I'm taking these pieces of paper and putting them in the garbage. Now I'm going to take a pen, like so, and write my name. Across each of these, my initials actually, across each of these pages, I mean each of these seals. You do when you apply for graduate schools. Making the scribbles enough so that you can see that it cuts across the lines to ensure that it hasn't been opened by anyone. Okay. It is somewhat of a scribble, but it's definitely my signature. Then, when this is all done, I'm going to leave them in front of the camera for a while, just so you can see. And remember, at this point, I have no idea which is in which envelope. Okay. And by the way, this is being performed in my office, which is at 5766 Finisterre Drive, Tucson, Arizona. As we said, this was done on July 28th in the year 2001. These are the envelopes. And I'm going to put them here. So, and I think what I'll do just for posterity is I'm going to put this little mineral on top of them to preserve them. In fact, I'm going to get up and see whether we can see that in the tape. Ah, very good. For the record, although these two files, which are now being closed, are in my computer, they won't do Chris or anybody else any good. Because even if Chris were to know ahead of time what 20 possible sites, were being selected ahead of time, it would do him no good to know this ahead of time, because he will not know which of the 10 sites of the 20 will be randomly selected by Bill's friend. And by the way, I'm being kept blind to who the friend is, and the friend is being kept blind to the purpose of the experiment. And the friend will select 10 of the envelopes, number them 1 through 10, and will then each day open the respective number. And as I said, before that person does that, I will bring this same video camera to Christopher, who will, the night before, have purportedly dreamed about where we are to go on that given day. He will show me the next morning what he has written. I will videotape his the information with the date and time stamp. We will then call Bill Simon. Bill Simon will then call his friend. His friend will then open the envelope. We will learn where we are to go. And this is how the data collection will occur. It probably will be a good idea if we have a backup audio tape recorder as well as a videotape recorder, just for historical sake, and I'll try to see whether I can arrange that. And at the end of the 10 days, of course, the dreams will be transcribed, the actual sites will have been taped as we go to them, and all of this information will be preserved. And then will be later scored double blind. For the record, I have no idea how it is possible for Christopher to be able to know which site we're going to go to the night before it happens, especially since no one knows this information, because it is in a sealed envelope, and there will be no contact between, at any time, between whoever the person is who is actually going to be selecting the 10 envelopes and then randomizing those 10 and then opening each one consecutively on the days that they are to be opened. So this is in some respects, it is a tremendous challenge, and we shall see what happens. I'm going to let the tape run for another couple of minutes, and as I said before, I will tomorrow also videotape the envelopes on my desk. They will be, let me just see if I have an envelope that we can put them in. If not, I will just leave them, not that it matters. So I don't have an envelope or even I do have, you'll notice, a rubber band. So I'm going to take the envelopes and put the rubber band around them. As you can see. I think I'll make them just one tight rather than two, because it may make it too tight. Here again. The envelopes, I can now put this back, and we will leave them there until it's time for tomorrow, and until I can get an appropriate envelope to put them in on preparation for them being Federal Expressed to Bill Simon in San Diego, my writing partner and colleague. Again, February 28th, it's now about 5 to 6. I think we're done for the day. By the way, I think just for the fun of this, I'm going to show where we are. You can see that this is my study. There's the computer. And in the backyard here is a waterfall, which, as you can see, is flowing. That's a hummingbird feeder. That's sort of a frog on the outside table. And there we are again back at the printer and the envelopes and the monitor. According to this, we are at 1932, which means that this tape has been going for about 20 minutes, which is the time it took to prepare this experimental procedure. By the way, over here, these are pictures of my great-grandparents on my mother's side. They are very special people to me, although I've never met them. Again, back to the envelopes, and we'll call it quits for now. Morning. Today is Monday, July 30th, at about 1:45. Here are the 20 envelopes which have not been touched, placed in their original, what do you call this? Rubber band. Okay. This is Bill Simon's address, which is put on this sticker. And this is a letter that explains the procedure. I'm going to read this letter into the, for the record, and then what I'm going to do is attach it here. This will then be federally expressed to Bill Simon, so the envelopes will be his. And here's the letter. Instructions for numbering and opening the envelopes. Here are 20 envelopes. Your friend, whose identity I do not know, should be given these envelopes. In front of a video camera, he or she should 1. Announce the day and time. 2. Shuffle the envelopes a few times in front of the camera. This will of course mean that they'll be further randomized. 3. Number the envelopes from 1 to 20. He or she should write the number on front of the envelope and on the back of the envelope. So it'll be written both on front and the back. On the back, she or she should write the number across the flap like I've written my name. So here's the flap with my name, and they'll put the number, whatever it is, 1 to 20. Like I've written my name, to document the envelope is still closed. Then 4, envelopes 1 through 10 should be placed in one large envelope. Envelopes 11 through 20 should be placed in a second large envelope, which should be sealed, and the person should write his or her name across the seal, which means that the second 10 will be, quote, control envelopes, and none of us will know what they are or what to do with the order until the experiment is done. Now, each day of the experiment, 1, I will meet Chris. I'll announce the day and time, and then have Chris read his dream diary prepared that morning from the dream of the previous night. The dream reading procedure will be videotaped, so all this will be videotaped. 2, I'll then call you, that's Bill Simon. This will be videotaped on our end. 3, you will start an audio tape recorder and record our brief phone conversation. 4, you'll then call your friend, and she or he will start his or her video camera. 5, your friend will announce the date and time. Then your friend will select the appropriate envelope 1 through 10 in order, 1 envelope per day. She or he will show the video camera that the seal has not been broken. The envelope will then be opened in front of the camera. She or he will show the video camera what was written on the paper. She or he will then read the paper to you, so this will all be recorded. She will then put the paper back into the envelope, and of course put it back into the envelope that has 1 to 10. You will then call me. You will tell me what your friend said the paper read. In other words, what the paper, where we're supposed to go. 7, I will then take Chris to the site, wherever that is. We will video his interactions at the site. Please call me to make sure that you've received the envelopes and you have given them to your friend and that she or he understands the procedure. Please thank your friend for me. This will be a most interesting experiment. Best, Gary. So here's this. What I'm going to do is put this, I'm going to open the envelopes here and put this around the envelopes like such. I'm leaving the address here up front because I'm going to be bringing this to Laurel, who is assistant to Sabrina at the laboratory, and Laurel will mail this envelope and materials to Bill. And that's it. It's going to run. Here they are. The work is unfolding. Bye. There we go. It took about maybe 5 minutes. This is August 1st. It is around 11:15. All of this is, by the way, timed anyway on the film. And I am in the 4 Points Sheraton Hotel.
Yes, that's correct.
In Tucson, Arizona, with Christopher
Yes.
Robinson, who is the author of, among other things, and I'm standing in front of the camera so you can see this is for real, this book. Let's see its focus. Ah, there it is.
On that like that?
Pick up a little too. Good. Then put it down. Great.
Okay.
There we are.
There you go.
nice and informal. So nobody will ever accuse us of doing this professionally.
No.
This is not filmed professionally. Okay. And Christopher's here to do a series of experiments. When he first came here a few days ago and went to Los Angeles, and all of this will get on tape later, he did what he calls, and I like his term, a warm-up experiment, which we will talk about later.
Yes.
Which we'll review tonight, the results of that. And we will also share our initial meeting together and many things. However, right now, what we need to do is to preserve for the record precisely what was requested last night and the dream that took place.
Right.
Now, if you could just hand me the book for a second, that book, that's good. I'm going to put this up close to the camera so it can be seen. Actually, it's really not bad. No, it's good. This is good. I got it. Thanks.
In case you couldn't reach, I was just thinking.
Oh, thank you. No, this is perfect. You can actually read what I wrote, so it's now on the...
Okay.
Okay. Last night, at around 8 o'clock, just before 8 o'clock...
Just before 8 o'clock.
Just before 8 o'clock, which turns out to be important, which we'll talk about later. July 31st, 2000, I wrote the following. Christopher, please ask all your friends, including my beloved Susie, what has happened to Chandra Levy? Alive or dead? What has happened and why?
Right.
The English is not very good, but
Never mind.
nor is my handwriting.
No.
But that was the question. And you can see that there are 2 pages of notes here, plus additional information that Christopher is going to tell us about.
Right.
Now, I have not, at the present time, heard any of this information. I've also not read it. It was just handed to me just this second.
That's right, while the camera was going.
Right. I did not want to know any of the details
No.
until the camera was rolling.
Right.
Okay? However, just for the record, I should tell that due to a... why don't we turn that off? So
Yeah, I did like that.
Ah, perfect. Due to a, quote, coincidence, which was on Monday, which was 2 days ago, I was filmed by Nightline. The producer was Joe O'Connor, and I was interviewed. This was in Tucson, but the interview was actually done by a woman by the name of Michelle Martin in the Washington, D.C. area. So it was done by phone, but the videotaping was done in the laboratory. And we talked, among other things, about religion and the brain and our research on survival of consciousness after death. And Michelle then asked me privately and told me that her husband, who she calls Billy Martin, was the lawyer to Chandra Levy's family, and that they had been swamped with people calling in, claiming to be psychics, mediums, and otherwise wishing to provide information. And both the motivation for that, providing that information, as well as the accuracy of that information was clearly suspect. You don't know why people are calling, and you don't know whether it's accurate or not. And she asked me whether it would be possible for me to talk with her husband about our scientific approach to collecting data of this sort.
Okay.
I then told her that if her husband wished to call me, that would be fine, and that I gave her my home phone number to give to him. And that night after dinner, when I returned, we'd had dinner at the Arizona Inn, Joe O'Connor and I. There was a phone call awaiting for me on my home answering machine, and I called Billy Martin. It was after 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We spoke for an hour, and he asked me about our research. He told me about this circumstance. I told him that I would be happy if the family wished to do a scientific blind receipt of information with multiple research mediums who have not, by the way, been contacted yet, about the trying to get information about the current status of Chandra Levy, and also recommended that if he wished and the family wished that we could then secretly bring these mediums together to do a group medium process to see whether the combination of people working together might be able to get additional leads that they might not get individually under these scientific conditions.
Yes.
Okay. I also told him that coincidentally, a man sometimes known as the dream detective was coming to the United States to do some very important research with the Human Energy Systems Laboratory, and that if it was okay with them, I would ask this person to see what information he could retrieve, so long it was to be kept under the strictest of confidence.
Yes.
And right now, the only people who even know that I have received a phone call from this person, Billy Martin, is Bill Simon, who is my writing partner, because I wanted to make sure that at least one other person knew about it, and he will keep it quiet, and Christopher. So I told Christopher about this last night. Christopher said he would be willing to try this. We then came here back to his room after dinner at the La Paris Suisse, which is a lovely Mexican restaurant, and Christopher then said it's often helpful when the person requesting the information writes the request in his own handwriting.
That's true. We do that with Scotland Yard often.
Okay, and
I've
that's
got lots of cases of that.
Okay, and so that's what I've done.
It's a normal procedure.
It's a normal procedure. Okay. At this point, what I'm going to do is to say, okay, Christopher, what happened?
Okay. What happened was this. I placed the pad beside my bed. I put the pen on top of it in such a position as if I'm sleeping, but with my other part of my mind want to write while I'm sleeping, and I sometimes do that, I could reach it easily.
Okay.
As I was falling off to sleep, and I was definitely not asleep, I had a very rare experience for me, a waking vision. And a window opens up some way like this in front of you, and something appears on that window that's not what's in front of you. And I was in a helicopter looking down at a waterfront with some tanks, and these were perhaps gas storage tanks, oil storage tanks, some kind of tank.
Okay.
And I wrote here that I was in a helicopter. I drew the water line and a little river or tributary or channel or something, canal. And the writing here is, helicopter, I am looking down on the water's edge at some storage tanks. That part of the dream tells me she's dead, because the helicopter is a symbol which I have always had when somebody has died.
Okay.
And I haven't yet had a mistake with that.
How many times would you say that you've had the helicopter?
Every time I deal with whether somebody's dead or not, if the helicopter's there, I assume that they're dead. And so far, it's been 100%
How many times would you say this happened?
Maybe
Yes.
50 or 60.
Okay, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Okay.
And it gives me a clear indication for myself, and I believe that that's what's happened.
Okay.
I was then in a room, and there were two young ladies in there, and they were talking and laughing and joking, and one of them had lost the cigarette lighter. But the cigarette lighter wasn't where it should have been, and by this time I'm asleep. I've gone from my vision into it and fallen asleep. The cigarette lighter was sort of down in something.
Okay. Let me ask a question, by the way. Is the light bothering you?
No, not at all.
Okay, let me just check one thing here, just to see if this reduces the glare of your glasses.
Maybe. Should I take them off? I don't mind.
Well, no, you can keep them on.
I need them on to read.
No, just don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
I won't be able to read what's on the paper unless I leave them on.
Yeah, just leave them on, it's fine.
Yeah. When these dreams started 10 years ago, I didn't need them at all. It's called old age.
Okay, all right.
It's called old age. So, what I wrote here is room, two ladies, both want a lighter, something I can't read, it's not in the same place as we left it. I think last time we needed or used it, one lady says something about a football game on Friday.
Okay.
That bit of the dream then moves into something else.
Okay.
I will tell you what I think I should do with that bit of the dream before I move into the something else.
That's fine. And just for the record, I'd just like to be clear that since I know virtually nothing about this case, save for having read one or two articles, I know very little, believe it or not, about the Chandra Levy case.
I know even less.
Right. You know even less. And the truth is, I don't even know how to spell her last name.
No, well, I don't know. I know even less.
Okay, just for the record. So continue. I have no idea what if this is accurate or not.
Yeah. No, neither do I.
Okay, I got you.
Oh, we're just dealing with the data from the dream, that's all.
Exactly, perfect. I just want to have it on the record.
The first section, the waking vision that went into sleep and into a dream, we've got a waterfront. That doesn't recur in the second dream.
Okay.
In the first dream, there are gas tanks. That does recur in the second dream, because a lighter, to all intents and purposes, is a gas tank.
Gotcha.
It has a cylinder with gas in it.
Okay.
So there is a similarity between the first segment and the second segment of the dream, and that is a gas tank,
Okay.
a storage tank. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The next part of the dream, I was in some, I was on the ground in some constructional site, or I don't know where I was. But there was buried in the ground a propane cylinder, and you could only see the top of this cylinder with a tap on it.
Mm.
And I'm really not sure what was going on, but there was some electronic devices there which had either been broken or weren't working properly, and I drew this and I wrote gas tank buried under the ground. Electronic device not put together properly, never got finished when it was made. Like some kind of alarm, just a small box.
Okay, why don't you give me this just for a second so I can put it in front of the camera.
Sure.
Just so we can see it here. Okay, there's the tank. And the drawing. Good.
Now, when I would do this for a murder or missing people in England,
Right.
I would never only use one dream.
I understand.
All right? But for the benefit of now, I will do exactly what I would do in England. I pick the fundamentals.
Right.
The fundamental of the first one is a gas tank. They're storage tanks. I think it's no coincidence that I see them by a waterfront. There must have been a reason for that. And the helicopter means dead. The second segment, it's a lighter. Again, a gas tank. I don't quite know what I do with all of that, but I carry the fundamental of this storage tank or gas tank, but now it's buried underground. Sorry, it's a lighter. In the third segment, we've got a gas tank and it's almost submerged underground.
Okay.
So what I would say at this point is that, first of all, very sadly that this young lady is no longer with us on this level. We do need to look at a waterfront and gas tanks if we are going to try to find her body.
Okay.
And that's where I sit right now.
Okay.
I have no further information that I believe I could use right now.
Okay. Now, you wrote this at what time of the night or the day?
I probably did the whole thing before, well, I certainly did the whole thing before 2 o'clock this morning.
Because you wrote this down when you woke up and then set up your computer?
And then I woke up and I set up my computer because I couldn't get back to sleep around 2, and I thought, right, got a few things that I need to do, and I set up my computer, then I went back to sleep about 3.
Okay. Now,
And I wrote nothing further, but I had some wonderful experiences.
all right, so and I'd like to hear about those wonderful experiences. Whether or not they have anything to do with this case.
I don't think they have anything to do with this case.
Okay, well, let's
I think we moved on from that. I think right now I've got all I've got from last night about this lady.
Okay.
But I was in a place which wasn't really of this earth, and there were thousands of people there, and we were talking and talking and talking and talking, and I felt so wonderful and so content and so happy that I couldn't even begin to tell myself I've got to wake up and write down what this is all about. but it was so bright and vivid, and
And
that's
you'd never had a dream like that
not
before?
like that. No, I have never had from 3 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock in the morning something like that before. I have never experienced that before.
Now, do you remember any of the conversation or any of the people?
But I know I should. And I think maybe later on some of it might come
Okay.
back. But right now I know I cannot, and nothing else is written here.
Okay, let me ask a couple of questions.
What I did write
Yeah,
is that I woke at 06:51, which was almost 7 o'clock,
right. No, it's fine. Go ahead.
and I am awake now. I have seen more visions and heard more voices during last night than I have ever done before. And I wrote that at 6:51.
Okay, gotcha.
But this thing can build up or it can fade away. And right now we've just got to wait and see.
Okay, if you were doing this for Scotland Yard or whomever in England,
Yes?
would you? And you would actually probably do multiple dreams, right? You
I would do
do
multiple
Okay.
dreams. And
Have-
I
have you-
report them to the officers on a morning basis like I'm doing now.
Okay. Do you ever request in the dream that the person who was killed come to you and give you information about how she or he died?
I do that sometimes, but it's not normally a consideration from a police investigation point of view until we find the body.
Right.
So it's something that we don't normally waste.
the police
dream
waste
time on.
Right. You don't waste dream time on because the police are not concerned.
The
with
police
that.
are not concerned with that at that point. The first thing to do in a case where somebody's missing, maybe presumed dead, is to find the body or find where they were killed and then build an evidence. I'll give you, if you like, a little real story about police
Sure.
in London. Some years ago, at Easter, I dreamt that a young lady was in a car. She was with a man who was obviously her pimp. There was this terrible fight, and the next thing is she's floating dead in a canal. And I had a very strong feeling that this was local to me. I got up at 4 o'clock that morning. I went to the canal near where I live and I looked for this murdered prostitute. And I didn't find her. The following Thursday, the police did find a murdered woman who it turned out was a prostitute in that canal, the exact place in the canal where I'd actually been a few days before, and now I'm involved in a murder inquiry. Because we have now got the body, we are on a whodunit.
Okay.
And because she was in a canal, one of the prime questions for the police was at what point did she enter that canal, because somewhere along that canal there will be evidence and the rest of the canal won't have any, because she floated along. So at that point, the next night was talk to the lady, and her name was Sabrina Brett. Where did you get thrown into the canal?
I see.
Because it was the next relevant question.
Right.
And she told me about the whole thing to do with the bridge, and she was thrown in off the bridge, and she said to me two things. She said to me, you must tell the police that I was alive when I went into the water. And the other thing she told me is that as she went into the water, she saw buried in the mud at the bottom of the canal a radio television cassette recorder. Now that's a really bizarre thing.
Right.
When the police dragged the canal under the nearest bridges to the downstream where she was, at one bridge they found a rusty, rotten, mud-filled Crown radio television cassette recorder. And I said that must be the bridge, and of course then they find particles of skin and things on the bridge where she went over, and that was, well, we found the
Right.
scene of her entering
Exactly,
the water.
but you received the information afterwards by then going back to her in the second dream and
Yes,
asking for
because it was the right thing to ask.
Okay. Now, if I remember correctly, and I have to actually, can I see this
Sure,
for a
of course
second?
you can.
Because I want to see what it was that I originally wrote.
Well, I didn't even, do you know I didn't even read what you wrote? I left it there and let
Okay.
them read it.
Right, because the first thing that we asked was alive or dead. The second was what happened, and the third was why.
Okay, so
Now,
we've
we
got 3 dream segments then.
got
That's
3
it.
dream segments here, but we've only got one piece of information. Or do we have more than
Well,
that here?
we may have more, but you wouldn't necessarily be able to pick that out unless you knew more about the case. We've got 3 dream
Oh,
segments,
I
and
see.
you've got 3 things. Now, did she live anywhere near what looks like the first location?
Okay.
So that would be my next thing. Where
Gotcha.
did this girl live? Where was she last seen? Does that somehow match that first segment of dream?
Okay. Let me ask
And
you.
then you would move on.
Okay.
But
Right.
at some level, you have to bring reality into
Right.
it.
Now, you came here to do a very specific experiment,
Yes,
which we don't want to do anything to jeopardize.
absolutely.
Okay. So we don't want to add anything else to your. This it was okay to do this for the night before your dream cycle
Mhm.
for the experiment, but we can't. We do not want the experiment to be influenced by this process.
No?
I mean, what we could do, of course, if we could take one more day if necessary.
Well, there's actually lots of things we could do. We could put it as a second question after the first question in some of the experiments, say 2 or 3 days in, when we saw how it was going.
In other words, after we could always say, okay, after you've gotten the information,
So this, will you then show me this?
Have you ever done that?
Yes, I've done that with the IRA terrorists in London many, many, many times.
So you'd add it as a second thing?
Yeah. Who did this bomb and where's the next one?
Okay. So we could conceivably, for example, all right, okay, gotcha. Then we can continue this. What I'm going to do is the following now. I'm going to leave the tape recorder running, and I'm going to call the attorney.
Okay.
Only because I feel that is important. He, by the way, for the record, he was supposed to have called me last night if the family was interested in doing anything.
Okay.
He did not call. I presume that the family is not interested in doing
Yeah,
anything.
they very often aren't, and in that case you won't get any more.
Right, and that which is fine.
Yeah.
But I feel it's my moral obligation to at least pass on what we have done and give it to the family with our
Right,
blessings. And then,
I mean, one of my number 1 rules, and the police follow it, first of all, we'll do something, but then when we take it further, the family have to know.
yes, this is Dr. Schwartz calling. Is Mr. Martin in? Yes. He probably will be. He'll know. It's from the University of Arizona. Thank you very much. I think he's in. Yeah, this is Gary Schwartz. Hey, Billy, how are you? Depends in what context, but I prefer to be called Gary. Okay. Okay, Billy. Sure. Okay, no problem. Okay, I understand. Let me bring you up to date with what's happened, and then if you'd like, I will put this gentleman on the phone. Are you there? Okay, good, okay. Here's what's happened. Could you hold on 1 second, please? And somebody's calling my cell phone, but I'll let them call back. Yesterday, Christopher Robinson came in, and Christopher Robinson is this very distinguished, quote, dream detective from England. And he is officially going to be beginning his research in my laboratory tomorrow. And what happened was, very, very, very briefly, and then I will share with you what happened with regard to the Chandra Levy, is that when he came to, I picked him up at the airport at 12:30, as his plane was supposed to come in at 12:30, and Christopher did what he called a warm-up experiment. And what he did was he essentially, the night before, went to sleep, and he specifically asked for a deceased person who was a dear friend of mine who's died, Susie Smith, to essentially tell him, who had lived in Tucson for many years, to tell him what was going to happen today. And then last he was come. He what? No, what? No. He. Okay. Yeah. What happened was he was in Los Angeles, and before he goes to sleep at night, he asks Miss Smith, Susie Smith, who's dead, to the 90. Well, actually, she was not. Yeah, actually, she's just 90. She was just turning 90 at the time she died. Okay, and he asked her specifically about what he was going to be doing the day that he met me. Okay, and of course he wrote all of this down. And there were 4 ridiculously interesting specific pieces of information. The first 2 happened literally by the time he met me at the airport. By the time he got off the airplane, he had had an experience where, in his dream, he had been told that the plane would be seeing like other birds, and the thing would be he has the exact words, but the plane ended up coming into a storm, and it was being treated like a bird, which is not a big deal. But more interestingly, in his dream, Susie showed him that he'd be having an argument with a woman who, on this plane, something to do with sitting in an aisle. Again, it's a long story, but the bottom line, when he's traveled all over the world, he's a very gentle man. He's never had an argument with a woman. He gets on an airplane, and he's going to his seat, and there's this very heavy-set woman speaking in a foreign language who is yelling at this, pulling at this poor young child out of her seat, because this woman thought that the young child was in her seat, and the child was with her out her parents. And Christopher ends up coming to the rescue of these 2 children, and ends up yelling, telling in his British accent that she should please sit down, and not that in fact she's got the wrong seat, not the child, and so on. And all of this, by the way, is noted by a school teacher and her husband in Tucson who befriends him on the airplane. So by the time he gets off the airplane, they've now verified that this scene actually happened,
And this was
and that it's all, of course, in the paper that he had written the night before, which was in his suitcase. There was no way that he could have written this ahead of time or staged it. The more interesting thing was that after he came in, I took him to the university. I had to teach a class in the afternoon. He actually spoke for a few minutes. He's a very good speaker. And afterwards, we're to have dinner. And as I'm taking him to a restaurant, he said, "You're not perchance taking me for a salad or something, because I'm seeing these trays, these aluminum trays and so on." I said, "No, I wasn't planning to take you for a salad." And it turns out that he had also written about this. And I told him, I said, "Don't tell me anything more about what you wrote in Vegas. Here we are, trying to make a decision about dinner." Make a long story short, I ended up taking him for Mexican food. And he asked me that I should order whatever I was going to order for me. Well, what I had planned to order were fajitas from a wonderful Mexican restaurant called La Paris Suisse. And when they're served, he notices that they're served in these huge aluminum containers with salad on the side. So now he's looking at me, and he's also looking at me a little bit strange. I didn't understand why, but around 7:30, I had planned to originally take him to my house and videotape his first portion of being here and talking about the research, and I got so tired. I was exhausted, Billy. And I apologized, and I said, "Look," I said, "let me take you back to your hotel, get you settled." And then I told him in the car, about secretly, because this man works for Scotland Yard secretly all the time. I mean, he respects judgment. I said, look, I said, I don't know whether this, you know, I didn't know whether you were going to call, whether the family was interested, but I felt that I should at least ask him whether in his night before he starts his actual dream experiment, whether he could get anything about the Chandra Levy case. And he agreed to do that. By the way, I come to his hotel, we get settled. It's about 7:58, okay? I am just now writing the phrase that I need to write in order to, for him to then go to sleep. And he shows me in the thing that was written yesterday, and I'm going to actually see if I can read this because it's the most unbelievable thing. Can you get it for me, Christopher? He shows me the sentence that says, salad bar food, so no eat, only there's something food here, things to do, and then he said, but 100 million things to talk about, but not after 8 p.m. He said, the thing says that not after 8 p.m. are we going to be talking. And you have to understand, I'm reading this at 7:58. I'm just ready to leave his hotel because I'm exhausted. And by the way, I fell asleep 8:30 last night. So anyway, there's something going on with this young man. He's 50 years old. And anyway, as a result, he then went to sleep last night. And he did the following. And what I thought is, I have, by the way, videotaped this. So I have a record of what's happened. But what I'd like to do, if you can take 2 minutes, is I'd like to put Christopher on, and he... Mm-hmm. I don't mind at all. You got it. I'm going to introduce you. Apparently, somebody who... Yes. Hello? Okay. Just for the record, only because they obviously don't know me and they also don't know Christopher Robinson, I'll just introduce myself for the record. I'm Gary Schwartz. I'm a professor at the University of Arizona. And that the following that I'm about to share with you is right now completely off the record, meaning that this is not to get to any media. And I'm going... Good. Well, I just want to make sure that that's clear, okay? And that if and when anything was ever done with the media, it would be only done after it had been dealt with the family and done under conditions that were with the highest integrity and for the best interest of the
Absolutely.
work. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Christopher on my cell phone. Here, you sit down, Christopher. I'll get the book for you. And Christopher will tell you the circumstances. He will literally read to you what I wrote down, and then he will describe in his own words what he's got. And by the way, for the record, I have no idea whether any of this is useful or not. Okay? Hold on. Okay.
Hello, sir. I'm very well, sir. And you? Oh, that's a pleasure.
Hit a home run or get
But in the moment of hitting the ball, there is no motivation. There's just hitting the ball.
Yes, but you could ask them afterwards what their motive was, and they'd be able to tell you, and it would be very clear to them.
Right.
That's their intention.
That's what shaped them being at the plate in the first place.
Exactly, and they have an awareness of intention.
So there is, are they not, there is something driving them.
Drive is a word that's separation to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is
They
for
are
us.
here.
They're here.
They are here.
We don't know. They have just, from when I saw that green, their intelligence is it's skyrocketing our intelligence.
By the way,
They're way
I'm not impressed by that at all. I think that in certain areas their intelligence is severely
different.
lacking.
Well, as far as, you know,
They don't even understand the word, Christine. They can't even conceive of the word. It's like they're colorblind. It's like they're lacking in vocabulary. They have a lack of understanding for us.
their emotional IQ, but their intellectual IQ is beyond ours.
I don't see where. I don't see where the evidence is of that.
This is part
I
of
mean,
their...
I'm looking for it. I'm trying to see, and there's no criticism here. There is no criticism.
No,
I
that's
don't
not-
criticize the rattlesnake. I don't criticize
This-
there's no criticism. It's just a difference.
This
I'm
is-
trying to understand the difference.
This is